Silent watchers. In the depths of Antarctica's Research Station Omega, Dr. Elena Chen stood before the quantum detection array, her eyes fixed on readings that shouldn't exist. The massive underground facility, disguised as a climate research station, housed Earth's most advanced early warning system. For the first time in human history, it had detected something extraordinary. Conference call, Priority Alpha. Elena spoke into the secure comm system. Within moments, holographic projections materialized around her, showing the grim faces of Earth's Defense Council. These weren't politicians or bureaucrats, but the hidden guardians of humanity's future. Dr. Chen. Admiral Sarah Torres acknowledged, her hologram flickering slightly. I trust this isn't another drill. Elena pulled up the quantum signatures, sharing them across the secure network. The QDA detected these patterns 6 hours ago. We've confirmed them across 3 independent arrays. Something massive is moving through the Oort cloud, using advanced propulsion technology we've only theorized about. The council members studied the data in silence. They all knew this day would come. They'd been preparing for it for decades. While the public saw space programs struggling with basic rocket technology and celebrating small victories on Mars, the truth was far different. Multiple objects, General Zhang noted, his augmented eyes processing the data streams. Formation suggests a military scouting party. Have they detected our quantum observation posts? Elena shook her head. No, the QDA operates on principles they seem unaware of. We're detecting them, but they're not detecting us. At least, not our real capabilities. What they were seeing wasn't just alien ships. It was confirmation of humanity's greatest gamble. 50 years ago, when the first hints of advanced civilizations were detected, Earth's leaders made a decisive choice. Instead of racing to catch up with alien technology, they would pursue different paths entirely, developing technologies that operated on principles other species might have overlooked. Show me their trajectory, Admiral Torres commanded. The holographic display shifted, showing the solar system from above. Red dots indicated the alien vessel's positions, while blue lines projected their likely course. Every projection intersected with Earth. They're being methodical, Elena explained, moving slowly, cataloging everything. Based on their communication patterns, they believe they're observing a primitive civilization barely capable of basic spaceflight. General Zhang's hologram leaned forward. Our surface infrastructure is maintaining the deception. Perfectly, Elena confirmed. They're seeing exactly what we want them to see. Old-style chemical rockets, basic satellites, clumsy mining operations in the asteroid belt. The quantum shroud is masking everything else. Everything else meant the true extent of human advancement. The quantum computation centers buried in the Earth's crust, the phase-shifted manufacturing facilities inside Mercury's core, the dimensional pocket laboratories orbiting Jupiter, and the consciousness backup arrays scattered throughout the Kuiper Belt. While alien civilizations had raced toward the stars, humanity had dug deeper, fought differently, and prepared. Time estimate until they reached decision range. Torres asked. Elena studied the projections. 3 months at their current pace. They're being cautious, documenting our apparent level of technology. Everything indicates they're following a standard protocol for evaluating primitive species, and our assessment of their capabilities. Impressive by conventional standards, Elena brought up detailed scans of the alien vessels. Crystal-based technology, quantum-assisted propulsion, energy weapons we pretend we can't even theorize about. But she paused, allowing herself a small smile. Nothing we haven't prepared for. The council members exchanged knowing looks. This was the moment humanity had sacrificed so much to prepare for. While the public complained about underfunded space programs and questioned the value of scientific research, trillions had been secretly poured into alternative technological development. Earth didn't try to match alien advancement. They transcended it entirely. Initiate Protocol Omega, Torres commanded. Dr. Chen, your team has 3 months to complete the quantum defense grid. General Zhang, begin activating the deep space assets. It's time to wake up the Guardians. Throughout the solar system, things began to stir. In the asteroid belt, what appeared to be primitive mining stations subtly shifted their positions. Beneath the surface of Mars, ancient machines powered up. In Jupiter's atmosphere, invisible sensors focused their attention outward. Should we attempt communication? Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. Admiral Torres shook her head. We follow the protocol. Let them come closer. Let them think they found another primitive species to conquer. Let them make the first mistake. As the holograms winked out one by one, Elena turned back to her quantum displays. She thought about all the sacrifices, all the secrets, all the years of preparation. The aliens approaching Earth thought they were the advanced civilization, the ones with all the power. They had no idea they were sailing into the most sophisticated trap ever conceived. In the darkness of her laboratory, surrounded by technology that shouldn't exist, Elena whispered a quiet prayer, not for humanity's survival, but for the aliens who would soon learn why humans had always been so fascinated by stories of beings from other worlds. They had been preparing for this moment since they first looked up at the stars and wondered, what if they come, and they're not friendly? The quantum detection array hummed softly, tracking the approaching ships. In 3 months, the aliens would learn the truth. Humanity wasn't primitive. They weren't defenseless. They were patient, innovative, and had spent centuries preparing for this exact moment. The game was about to begin, and Earth was playing by rules the aliens didn't even know existed. The price of pride. High Commander Vexthal stood before the Nexus Collective's War Council, his crystalline form pulsing with barely contained excitement. The holographic displays around him showed detailed scans of the Sol system, focusing particularly on the third planet, Earth. Another primitive species, he announced, manipulating the display to show Earth's apparent defense capabilities. Chemical propulsion, basic orbital installations, minimal planetary defenses. They haven't even unified their planetary government. The council members, each a shifting mass of crystalline energy, study the data with their characteristic thoroughness. The Nexus Collective hadn't become the dominant force in this sector of space by being careless, even with seemingly primitive civilizations. Their technological progress appears inconsistent, noted Council Elder Zarix, her crystalline form flickering with uncertainty. Their advancement pattern doesn't match our usual models. Vexthal dismissed the concern with a pulse of light. They're struggling with basic spaceflight while still fighting among themselves. Their most advanced weapons are crude nuclear devices. They're practically defenseless. In the depths of Ganymede, humanity's largest hidden military installation, Admiral Sarah Torres watched the intercepted transmission with growing satisfaction. The quantum detection array was performing perfectly, allowing Earth to monitor the aliens' every communication, while remaining completely undetected. They're following the exact pattern we predicted, Elena noted, standing beside Torres. Their arrogance is blinding them to any inconsistencies they notice. Torres nodded, studying the tactical displays showing the true state of Earth's defenses. What the aliens saw as primitive satellites were actually quantum-linked weapon platforms. The clumsy mining operations in the asteroid belt concealed phase-shifted manufacturing facilities. Even Earth's apparent political disunity was carefully orchestrated, a deception maintained for decades to present the image of a divided, vulnerable species. Status of the defense grid, Torres asked, turning to General Zhang's hologram. Quantum nodes are at 97% coverage, he reported. The final connections will be complete before they enter the inner solar system. Phase shift generators are charged and ready. The Guardian AIs are fully operational. The Guardian AIs were perhaps humanity's greatest secret, artificial intelligences that operated on quantum principles, unbounded by the limitations of conventional computing. They had been humanity's silent partners for decades, helping to develop technologies that operated outside the normal rules of physics. In the Nexus Collective's war chamber, Vexthal continued his presentation. I recommend immediate conquest. A small fleet should be sufficient. Their defenses won't last an hour against our basic weapons platforms. And if they resist? Another council member asked. Then they burn. Vexthal's form pulsed with cruel amusement, like all the others who refused to acknowledge our superiority. The collective's arrogance was exactly what humanity had been counting on. For centuries, Earth had maintained the appearance of technological inferiority, while developing in completely different directions. While other civilizations mastered faster-than-light travel, humanity perfected quantum entanglement. While others built bigger weapons, Earth learned to shift matter between phases of reality. They're launching their attack fleet, Elena reported, watching the quantum signature shift. 15 capital ships, 40 support vessels, exactly as the simulations predicted. Torres allowed herself a grim smile. Execute Protocol Sigma. Let's show them our first card. Throughout the solar system, hidden systems activated. In the asteroid belt, quantum-linked nodes began generating fields that would turn the aliens' faster-than-light drives against them. Around Mars, phase-shifted platforms prepared to reveal weapons that operated on principles the collective had never encountered. Alert from the Guardian A's, Elena announced. They're predicting a 98% probability that the collective will target our major population centers first. Standard intimidation tactics. Perfect, Torres replied. That's exactly what we want them to do. Earth's cities were protected by technologies that would seem like magic to the collective. Quantum shields that didn't just absorb energy, but redirected it through dimensional phases. Defense systems that could predict attacks before they were launched. And beneath every major city, vast underground complexes waited to shelter humanity if necessary. The collective's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel near Jupiter, their crystalline ships gleaming in the distant sunlight. They expected to find a helpless planet awaiting conquest. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had spent centuries preparing for this exact moment. Send the message, Torres commanded. Throughout the solar system, quantum communicators activated, broadcasting on frequencies the collective couldn't ignore. The message was simple, calculated to provoke exactly the response humanity wanted. To the Nexus Collective, we see you. We know your intentions. This is your only warning. Retreat or face the consequences of your arrogance. In the collective's command ship, Vexthal received the message with amused disbelief. They dare to threaten us. Launch the first wave. Show them the price of their defiance. As the alien ships began their advance, Elena turned to Torres. They took the bait, exactly as predicted. Torres nodded, watching the tactical displays. Humanity has always been good at appearing weak when we're strong. Let's show them why that's been one of our greatest advantages. The trap was set. The collective was committed. And humanity was about to reveal just how dangerous a primitive species could be when it had spent centuries preparing for this exact moment. Echoes of innovation. The first shot of the war wasn't a plasma burst or an energy beam. It was silence. As the collective's fleet approached Mars orbit, their quantum communication networks suddenly went dark. In the void between worlds, their perfectly coordinated fleet found itself divided, each ship isolated in the vastness of space. First phase successful, Elena reported, watching the quantum displays in the Ganymede Command Center. The entanglement disruptors are performing beyond expectations. Admiral Torres nodded, studying the tactical overlay. The collected ships were now moving in confused patterns, their crystalline forms gleaming in the distant sunlight as they tried to re-establish contact with each other. It was like watching a school of fish suddenly lose their ability to sense their neighbors. Their technology depends on quantum communication, Elena explained for the benefit of the military observers. By disrupting their entanglement patterns, we've essentially blindfolded them. Each ship is now fighting alone. In the command ship of the collective's fleet, High Commander Vexthal's crystalline form pulsed with rage and confusion. Impossible, he thundered, watching his fleet's formation dissolve into chaos. These primitives can't possibly understand quantum mechanics at this level. But humanity's understanding went far beyond what the collective could imagine. While alien civilizations had used quantum entanglement for communication, humans had learned to weaponize it. The seemingly empty space around Mars was filled with quantum disruption fields, carefully tuned to shatter the very foundations of collective technology. "Launch the Guardians," Taurus commanded. Throughout the solar system, what appeared to be simple asteroid mining stations suddenly transformed. Their outer shells dissolved, revealing sleek vessels that operated on principles the collective had never encountered. These were the Guardian vessels, each controlled by a quantum AI that could process combat decisions faster than thought. "Guardian units engaging," Elena reported, watching the tactical display light up with new signatures. "Phase shift drives active." The Guardian vessels didn't move through space. They shifted between phases of reality, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. To the collective sensors, it would look like they were everywhere and nowhere at once. Their weapons weren't based on energy or kinetics, but on fundamental manipulation of physical laws. Impossible. Vexthal watched in horror as the first Guardian vessel phased into existence beside one of his cruisers. There was no energy beam, no projectile. The cruiser's crystalline structure simply changed, its perfectly ordered lattice transforming into useless, random patterns. Phase pattern disruptors performing as designed, Elena noted with professional satisfaction. Their crystalline technology is particularly vulnerable to quantum state manipulation. The battle, if it could be called that, continued throughout the Mars orbital zone. The collected ships, designed to fight enemies who used conventional weapons, found themselves helpless against attacks they couldn't even detect. Their advanced shields, calibrated to stop energy and matter, did nothing against weapons that changed the nature of reality itself. "Second wave of Guardians launching from Deimospace," Torres announced. The hidden base on Mars' moon had been centuries in the making, its quantum forges producing weapons that operated outside the normal rules of physics. Vexthal watched in growing despair as his fleet was systematically dismantled. Not destroyed, that would have been easier to accept, but transformed, disabled, rendered inert by forces he couldn't comprehend. "Full retreat," he ordered, his crystalline form pulsing with fear, "back to quantum space." But retreat wasn't possible. The quantum disruption fields had transformed the very fabric of space around the fleet. Their faster-than-light drives, dependent on stable quantum states, were useless. "They're trapped," Elena confirmed, watching the aliens' desperate attempts to escape. "Should we finish them?" Torres shook her head. "No, send the second message." Throughout the solar system, quantum communicators activated once again. This time, the message was received by every surviving ship in the collective's fleet. "Your weapons are useless. Your technology is neutralized. But we are not like you. We do not destroy those we can defeat. Return to your collective. Tell them what you witnessed here. Tell them that Earth is not a primitive world to be conquered, but a civilization that chose to appear weak while growing strong. Tell them that if they ever return, what you experience today will seem merciful in comparison." In the Ganymede Command Center, Elena turned to Torres. Will they believe it? Will they understand? Torres watched as the disabled collective ships were gently pushed into an escape trajectory by precisely calculated quantum fields. They don't need to understand. They just need to fear. Fear of the unknown is the strongest deterrent of all. The collective's first invasion fleet limped away from the solar system. Their once proud ships now little more than crystalline shells. They carried with them not just a military defeat, but a fundamental challenge to everything they believed about technological progress and their own superiority. Humanity had revealed only a fraction of its true capabilities, and that had been enough. The message was clear. Earth was not a target for conquest. It was a civilization that had chosen its own path of advancement, one that had led to powers the collective couldn't comprehend. As the last alien ship disappeared into the darkness of space, Elena spoke softly. "Do you think they'll return?" Torres smiled grimly. "They'll try. They'll convince themselves that they can counter our technology, that they can prepare for what they saw today. But that's the beauty of the path we chose. We'll always be steps ahead, thinking in ways they can't imagine. Because while they were racing to the stars, we were learning to break the rules of reality itself. Breaking point. 6 months after the Battle of Mars, the quantum detection array lit up with unprecedented activity. Alina stared at the readings, her face illuminated by the holographic displays in the Ganymede Command Center. "They're back," she announced to the assembled command staff, and they brought their entire fleet. The tactical display showed the scale of the collective's response. Not dozens of ships this time, thousands. The crystalline vessels emerged from quantum space in waves, their formation spanning the outer solar system like a glittering web of light. "They've modified their quantum signatures," Alina noted, studying the data streams, "attempting to counter our disruption fields. And their crystalline structures. They're using adaptive lattices now." Admiral Torres watched the incoming fleet with calm determination. They learned from their defeat, adapted their technology, but they're still thinking inside the boundaries we let them see. "In return, you share your own journeys," Alina replied. "Every civilization here took a different path to reach the stars. By understanding all these paths, we all learn new ways to think about progress itself." As the diplomatic session continued, Alina stepped away to check the quantum detection array one last time. The display showed hundreds of ships in Earth orbit, but not in battle formation. They were arranged in a pattern that symbolized peaceful exchange in multiple alien cultures, a gesture that had emerged spontaneously among the gathered species. "It worked better than we could have hoped," Torres said, joining her at the display. "We didn't just defend Earth. We changed how an entire galaxy thinks about advancement." Alina nodded, watching the quantum fields ripple with the thoughts and emotions of a dozen species learning to communicate in new ways. "That's the real legacy of our victory. Not that we defeated them, but that we showed them there are always new questions to ask, new paths to explore." Above them, through the quantum-shifted windows, Earth's first faster-than-light ship prepared for launch. But unlike other civilizations' vessels, it wouldn't force its way through space-time. Instead, it would slip sideways through reality, exploring not just the physical space between stars, but the infinite possibilities that existed in the spaces between spaces. Humanity had emerged onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers. Their victory had come not from superiority of force, but from the willingness to question everything, even the nature of progress itself. As the diplomatic session concluded and representatives from across the galaxy departed with new ideas and questions, the quantum detection array picked up something unprecedented. Patterns of thought and innovation spreading between civilizations in entirely new ways. The universe had laughed at Earth's warning, but in the end, humanity had changed not just the outcome of the conflict, but the very nature of advancement itself. It was a new dawn not just for Earth, but for all civilizations ready to ask, what else might we have missed by looking only forward? Torres nodded, watching the quantum detection array return to its normal patterns. That was always the true victory we sought. Not destroying their fleet, but showing them that there are paths to advancement they never imagined. Sometimes the greatest power isn't in having the strongest weapons, but in changing how your enemy thinks about strength itself. New dawn. 1 year after the collective's final retreat, Earth's quantum detection array picked up something new. Diplomatic vessels. Not just from the collective, but from dozens of civilizations across the galaxy. The secret of humanity's true nature had spread, transforming Earth from a seemingly primitive backwater into the most discussed planet in known space. Alina stood in the new Galactic Reception Center, built within a dimensional pocket above Mount Everest. Through quantum-shifted windows, she could see both Earth's surface below and the array of alien ships in orbit, each carefully positioned within zones where conventional physics still applied. "They're still struggling to understand," she mused, watching representatives from various species being guided through the facility by human diplomats. "Even seeing it directly, they can't quite grasp how we took such a different path." Admiral Torres, now Earth's primary diplomatic liaison, stood beside her. Understanding isn't required for respect. Fear kept them away at first, but curiosity brought them back. The Galactic Reception Center had become a symbol of humanity's unique approach to advancement. While its basic levels operated according to normal physical laws to accommodate visitors, its upper levels demonstrated increasingly exotic applications of humanity's quantum technologies. It was both a diplomatic facility and a carefully crafted message. Earth's power came not from weapons, but from fundamental understanding of reality itself. The collective's representatives have arrived, Elena noted, checking her quantum interface. The crystalline beings who had once sought to conquer Earth now moved cautiously through the facility, their forms dimmed with what might have been humility. High Commander Vexthal, now designated as diplomatic envoy, approached Taurus and Elena. His crystalline structure had been simplified, a cultural indication of peaceful intentions. "We come seeking understanding," he announced, his form pulsing with carefully controlled energy patterns. "Our civilization has spent generations believing that technological advancement had only one path. You have proven that belief false." Torres nodded diplomatically. That was perhaps our greatest advantage. While other civilizations reached for the stars, humanity asked why that was the only direction to reach. We looked inward, outward, and sideways through reality itself. The Guardian A's had predicted this moment, not through calculation, but through understanding of sentient nature. The collective's defeat had sparked a philosophical crisis throughout known space. Civilizations that had spent millennia advancing along similar technological paths suddenly faced evidence that they might have missed entire branches of possible development. "We receive daily requests from other worlds," Elena explained to the assembled diplomatic corps, "asking us to share our technology. But that misses the point entirely. We can't simply give you our advances. They're built on centuries of thinking differently about the nature of progress itself." A reptilian diplomat from the Sidrian Empire raised a scaled hand. "Then what can you share with us?" Torres smiled. "We can share what we learned before our first breakthrough. That the path to advancement isn't always forward. Sometimes it's about stepping sideways and asking why things work the way they do. Every civilization here mastered faster than light travel, but how many asked why space and time behave the way they do in the first place?" The diplomatic chamber filled with murmurs of discussion, translated through quantum fields that conveyed not just words but concepts. Humanity's victory had done more than establish Earth's safety. It had sparked a renaissance of fundamental research throughout the galaxy. "We propose a new kind of exchange," Torres continued, "not of technology, but of questions. Earth will establish learning centers where representatives from any civilization can come to study not our advances, but our methods of thinking about advancement itself." Elena watched the reactions ripple through the assembled aliens. Some showed signs of enthusiasm, others skepticism, but all displayed intense interest. The quantum sensors built into the facility detected spikes of neural activity across multiple species, the moment of paradigm shift they had hoped to achieve. "And in return?" Vexthal asked, his crystalline form shifting with curiosity. In the flagship of the collective armada, High Commander Vexthal's crystalline form pulsed with anticipation. The humiliation of their first defeat had driven the collective to unprecedented innovation. Every ship now carried quantum stabilization fields. Their crystalline structures could reconfigure in response to phase shift attacks, and their weapons had been modified to operate on multiple quantum frequencies. This time, Vexthal announced to his commanders, "We show these humans the price of defiance. No more surgical strikes, no more measured responses. We will break their world." The collective fleet advanced as one, their formation designed to overwhelm any defense through sheer numbers. But as they passed Neptune's orbit, humanity revealed its next layer of innovations. "Activate the quantum mirrors," Taurus commanded. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations powered up. These weren't mere defensive shields. They were areas where reality itself became reflective. The laws of physics turned back on themselves, creating zones where cause and effect reversed. The leading edge of the collective fleet encountered the first quantum mirror near Uranus. Their weapons fired, and the energy beams curved back on themselves, following impossibly recursive paths through space-time. Ships fired their engines to retreat, only to find themselves moving forward instead. Their adaptation to our phase shift technology has made them more vulnerable to temporal manipulation, Elena observed. They've bound their ships so tightly to quantum states that they can't escape the mirror's effect. But the collective had numbers on their side. For every ship caught in the quantum mirrors, 10 more pressed forward. They had prepared for humanity's tricks, or so they thought. They're approaching the Jupiter defense line, Elena reported, activating the Guardian Swarm. This was humanity's true masterwork of defense. Not the quantum disruption fields that had won the first battle, not the reality warping mirrors, but something far more fundamental. The Guardian Swarm was a cloud of quantum-entangled particles, each one linked to an artificial intelligence that operated outside normal spacetime. The swarm didn't attack the collected ships. It rewrote the space between them. Quantum bonds shattered. Probability fields collapsed. The very vacuum through which the crystalline ships traveled became hostile to their existence. Impossible. Vexthal watched in horror as his fleet began to dissolve, not through violence or energy weapons, but through subtle changes in the fundamental forces that held their ships together. What are they doing to space itself? In the Ganymede Command Center, Elena answered the unheard question. We're not doing anything to space. We're allowing it to express all its possibilities at once. Their technology requires certain physical constants to remain constant. We're simply relaxing those requirements. The battle became a desperate race for survival. The collective ships tried to retreat, but the quantum mirrors trapped them in recursive loops of spacetime. They attempted to jump to quantum space, but the Guardian Swarm had rewritten the quantum fields they needed for faster-than-light travel. Final warning. Taurus commanded, and the quantum communicators activated one last time. The message that reached the collective fleet was accompanied by a demonstration. Earth's orbital defense platforms, hidden in dimensional pockets for centuries, revealed themselves. But they didn't reveal weapons. They revealed windows into other realities, showing the collective countless alternate universes where their civilizations had chosen different paths. You see only one way forward, the message stated. We see infinite possibilities. This is your final chance. Leave our space, or we will show you just how many ways reality can be reshaped. In his flagship, now trapped in a loop of contradictory physical laws, Vexthal made the only choice he could. Full retreat, he ordered, his crystalline form dim with defeat. Abandon all disabled ships. Save what we can. Only a third of the collective's fleet escaped the solar system. They left behind not just their stranded ships, but their certainty in their own technological supremacy. They had brought overwhelming force against what they thought was a primitive world, only to discover that humanity had transcended conventional advancement entirely. As the last collective ship vanished into the darkness, Elena turned to Taurus. They'll spread the word through their entire civilization. Everything they thought they knew about technological progress, about their own superiority. It's all been questioned.